Hi everyone, Loud Than Scream Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Don Toliver project, Heaven or Hell. This is a new full-length album from Houston artist Don Toliver, who had a pretty big showing through his multiple impressive features and appearances on Travis Scott's recent Jack Boys compilation. Out of all of the artists Travis has been working with through his Cactus Jack record label as of late that he was trying to showcase on that project, Toliver was easily the standout for me, as he came through singing with a pretty bold, dynamic, nasally voice that empowered nearly every one of the compilation's hooks. So as a result of that, I was instantly curious as to what Toliver would sound like on a new full-length album. Lo and behold, here it is, 12 tracks spread out amongst 36 minutes, and I gotta say, I'm not that impressed. In a way, I guess you could say based off of his appearances on the Jack Boys compilation,
his Astroworld feature too.
Toliver did meet expectations. His voice is still sounding pretty good. It has a strange timbre to it. It's bold. It slices through all of this trippy trap production. But that's how much we knew about Don Toliver before we heard this album. Heaven or Hell really fails to illustrate anything that you couldn't have already gleaned about Toliver from a feature. We have a super comatose opener that truly fails as a tone setter, unless what Toliver wants to tell us is this record is going to put us to sleep. Following that is the track Euphoria, where Toliver sounds like a back-end feature on a Travis Scott song. The record doesn't sound terrible, but it's already kind of failing the first impression test in terms of, I am Don Toliver, this is my sound, this is my direction, this is my really anything. How is what we're hearing so far defining you as a solo artist? Because all of this just pretty much sounds like it's in the shadow of Travis Scott's sound, Travis Scott's everything. And just as Travis Scott couldn't be where he is today if he just played the role of a Kanye protege forever, there is no way you are going to move beyond where you are right now if you're just riding the coattails of Travis Scott's sound, which this album pretty much does. The track Company, with its booming beats and somewhat luxurious synth layers, sounds like a watered-down version of something off of Rodeo. I get a similar vibe off of the track Had Enough, even though that's easily one of the sharper cuts here. For sure, this project has highlights and bright spots that I don't want to deny the existence of. We have some super solid vocal lines and refrains on the tracks Wasted and Cardigan, even though both songs don't really amount to much more than just a very chill, somewhat druggy vibe. The song After Party, in my opinion, is more the total package. Infectious chorus, as well as slightly more eccentric production with some horn breaks, as well as plucky synth passages throughout the verses. Very expressive singing throughout the entire track too. It's not like the song goes to sleep as soon as the chorus is over. It is a smoky, euphoric, nocturnal banger. The track Can't Feel My Legs was a standout for me too. Toliver takes a slightly more narrative approach with the lyrics, even though the point of the song doesn't amount to much more than just being drunk and high out of your mind. The track is filled with these super pillowy blossoms of synthesizers as well as these ascending vocal lines. Also love that refrain on the hook. I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs. You know, it doesn't entirely pan out, but still, kudos to the track Spaceship featuring Sheck Wes. Easily the weirdest track on here. Even though Toliver's flow and lyrics on this track are totally boring, I do like the strange vocal harmonies, the minimal beat, as well as the alien synths and very shouty Sheck feature. All of that adds up into a lovably awkward experience that I can't totally turn my ears away from. As long as I'm complaining though, the least favorite of mine on the record has to go to Candy, which not only is tedious, just soaked in way too much reverb, but is loaded with some of the worst vocal lines and refrains on the entire record too. Candy couldn't be so sweet. But truly and honestly, what makes this track hard to swallow is Toliver is trying to go into more of a, I guess, a loving, somewhat sentimental and sensual direction on this track, and I'm not sure if he's really nailed that delivery on this cut, even though he finds himself singing on pretty much every track here. I guess singing in this tone and with this delivery and trying to instill this specific feeling within the listener is not quite working out. The final moments of the record, in my opinion, leave a lot to be desired too. The track No Photos aesthetically, topically, and instrumentally just seems totally pointless, as It just seems like a variation of many of the ideas we've been hearing up until this point. It's sort of unfortunate that in this very short span of time for this record, Toliver has really run short on ideas. The track No Idea was soaked in a bit too much reverb too, to the point where it's really drowning in it, taking any teeth potentially away from the track. One thing that was a surprise on this track, though, was Toliver's falsetto, which was incredibly weird, kind of funny, but at least injected something interesting into the song. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my issues with this LP overall come down to what I initially said about this record before getting into a lot of the tracks. Just that there's not a whole lot here that is revealed by listening to Toliver in an album context. There doesn't really seem to be much in terms of a theme or a flow to many of these tracks too. I mean, it's funny that this thing was named Heaven or Hell because there's not a whole lot of duality to this record. In fact, there's not a whole lot of dimensions at all outside of one, really. So I guess in terms of future projects from Toliver, I'm hoping for bolder production choices, better writing and lyrics across the board, songs that feel like they have a bit more structure to them, because outside of a handful of tracks and Toliver's somewhat stunning voice, a lot of what's here is pretty painfully average. Feeling a decent 2 strong 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Don Toliver, Heaven or Hell, forever.